So this is the second Scenario 2 component of AVTech's demonstration of Yellowfin. What I'm showing here is I've got a chart or a bar chart that I've created, and I've got a drill down data view which is created with the Scenario 2 data. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in here and just show you the data source connector. We'll go into the Hong Kong University data source connector, and what we can see here is this is an SQL database, and there's a couple of options here which we need to have set. So one of the things that we can do once we've got our data set up, we can actually go and test it to check that everything is working and it's connected to the database. And one of the things I want to point out here is that we used a writable data set, and what that allowed us to do was actually import the spreadsheet files directly into the database using Yellowfin. Once that's been done, we then can move along and have a look at the view. So we'll go to Hong Kong University and we'll have a look at the view that I've created for Scenario 2. So this view, basically we can see over on the left here, we can see the database tables, which we can then do a search, find particular ones that we've imported. We can then drag those in and drop them into the view. Okay, and we can of course then join that in, and that's one of the important things when you are bringing data into the view, is to make sure that you've always got a field which can join it in so it actually makes sense and combines with the data set correctly. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save that, and you can see that we've now got a view join that's been created. I'll go ahead and remove that table and that'll delete it. The next thing I want to show you is the virtual tables, and this is around the question that came up during the Scenario 1 presentation when you asked, could we do this entirely in Yellowfin? Well, actually we can, and an option of doing that is basically to use virtual tables. What that allows me to do is put together a query that'll pull out the data in the format that I want to use it. Now the data that was provided, there's a number of bits of items that are in various tables, so the best thing was to actually create these views, and I can also inside these views include some of the filters that we need to make sure I am looking at the correct data. Okay, and as you can see there, I've been able to join all the information together to go through from the building usage, the rooms, the students, and the cost information as well. Okay, now once I've got all my data in there and selected the fields I'm going to use, I can go across and have a look at the SQL that gets generated. So this is standard SQL. You can take this and actually run this directly against the database, and you can also see in here some of those fields that I've included in those virtual tables, which allow me to filter the data. I can also go along to the View Data tab and actually see what the data is looking like that it's bringing back to check, yep, this is doing what I expect it to do, and I've got the cardinality of all my joins correct. Okay, so what I'm going to do from here is move on and go and have a look at the particular dashboards. Okay, and so what I've got here is the different reports that I've created, and we'll just open up the report, and this report gets included into a dashboard. So you can see here I've got the chart. I can mouse over it and I can actually drill down on the data. So in answer to one of the questions regarding Scenario 1, yes, absolutely you can drill in on data, and you can drill in on data either from a chart, or you can actually drill in on data from a data view as well. And you'll notice here that I've actually got the red and the blue. They are actually the two different time scales that you requested. So one time scale is basically 5 days a week. The other one is 24 hours a day, right around the full year. Okay, so now I've just gone into actually editing the data view for a report, and you can see here where I can bring in different dimensions and I can drop them in and change the report. Okay. Now if I want to remove it, simply drag it out and it'll take it out of the report. The next thing I want to show you is the hierarchy. So what you can do within Yellowfin is you can actually define any hierarchy of fields that you want. So I'm going to go across to the view now, and we'll just go and have a look at how hierarchies get defined. So I'm going to go open Scenario 2. And once that's opened, I can see the familiar table joins that we've got there with our data, and I'll go to the second tab option within that view, and now what I can see is the different groupings, and I can see the hierarchies I've created. So what I've actually done to create those hierarchies is I've grabbed data over here which I've provided from those tables that we saw on the other tab, and I can then bring those across, drop them under the hierarchy, and I can go in and define how each level of the hierarchy relates to the following levels below. So if we go in and have a look at building, for example, we can see here, we open up building and we go to the hierarchy tab, and we can see that I've defined, yes, it's in a hierarchy, and the item below it is going to be the room. So that allows me to build that hierarchy, which expresses the relationship between buildings and rooms. And of course the next one is from faculty, so we can build the relationship showing the hierarchy between faculty and department, department and course and program. So once those hierarchies have been built, and I can just close this and go back, and we'll go in and have a look now at the report that's using this. Once those hierarchies have been defined, it's very easy for us to automatically have those applied as a drill down on the data. So I'm just going to open this up and we'll have a look at the chart that's associated with this, and we can see there we can mouse over and get the data, and I'm just going to show you drilling down from the data grid view, and I can drill in and I can see each level, and I can continue drilling down through the levels that we defined in the hierarchy, and the system will take care of itself and basically pull back the information that I want to see at that level. So that's just a very quick overview of how hierarchies can be built out of any data that you've got, and how you can then use that to drive the drill downs that you want to see, and they just become very organic. You don't need to actually go and do anything more than define what is the hierarchy between various fields that you've got in your data set. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to show you is basically how I can take those reports that I've created and put those into a dashboard. So just to recap, you've seen we go in, we can create a data source. That data source connects us to our database. We can then create views that use data from that data source, and I've shown you how I can use the virtual table to bring in data and create the aggregations and the relationships that I need in order for me to be able to generate the report. So you can see there that Yellowfin's highly flexible in how you deal with the data. The next thing I want to show you is how the reports that I create get used and how they get added into the dashboards, and how users effectively will use Yellowfin on a daily basis to go in, they can see the dashboard, they can drill down through the information to understand what's going on. Okay, so what I've got here is a standard dashboard template that I've selected. I've created a tab here for Hong Kong University, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in a report. So I'll just very quickly search for the report. I think I've called it Scenario 2, and I can put that in there, do a search, go down and locate the report, and there's the one I'm after. I'm going to go and drag that in. Okay, so I drag that in there, and you'll notice that this is actually now showing me in chart view. One of the options I've got is I can actually change that default view to say, no, I want to see that as a chart, or I want to see it as a table. So I'll go ahead and I'm just going to change that over to a table view, and now you can see the same information the chart was presenting but in tabular form. Okay, the next thing is I'm going to go and search for a second report I created, which is just for creating the chart. I'm going to grab that chart, I'm going to drop that in as well. Okay, and now you can see that I've got both sets of information there. I just want to resize this very slightly, and just to give you an idea that you can actually change the sizing and positioning of things. I'm going to go ahead now and save this. I'm going to activate this so this becomes live. Okay, and now I've done that, you can see the dashboard view that you'd be presented with when you came in at the start of the day. And you can see here that I can start to use my dashboard to drill into my information, or I can go down and I can use the tabular information that's below the chart, and I can also drill in there and have a look at the information on a tabular view. So I guess that is one of the key features of Yellowfin, is that the ability for you to basically take your data from your data source, bring it in through your various views, and then take that view information, add in virtual tables which allow you to effectively do manipulation on the data before you're going to bring it through into your report. Okay, it allows you to add in SQL to do whatever summations and aggregations that you might need to do if you need to arrive, say for example, at the total number of students. That was one of the ways that I've done this, is to effectively go in there, do a quick statement that does a select count across the student table, and that gives me that count of students out of the live system. I never need to go back to it again, because that's going to be constantly updated every time the system interrogates the database. So from there, this information is brought together, put into reports. Those reports You can define hierarchies within the data, allowing you to do the drill downs as you've seen with the charts and with the tabular views, and then you can combine reports into dashboards. And of course you can have multiple tabs on a dashboard. You can also have multiple views on a dashboard that actually are joined together, so the view information within the dashboard allows you to drill down and see a consistent view. Different aspects of the dashboard will be changing as you drill into the data. So I hope this has given you a good idea of what we can do with Yellowfin, and I hope to hear from you in the future regarding our response to your tender. Thank you very much.